Welcome back to Forward Progress, presented by Fanduel. Jason Cooper here alongside Rob Pizzola at Rob Pizzola on Twitter. And today, we're going to be taking a look at 3 NFL futures we're betting before June hits. I've placed a little bit of bets, Rob. I know that you have as well. So we're going to walk through them. We're going to discuss them. It's funny because before we even started, before we sent each other what we were going to bet, there's a couple things that we're opposite on, a couple things that are correlated. So it's going to be interesting to see. I didn't tell you what I bet yet. You told me. So I know what you bet, but I'm excited to see you react to what I'm betting. Let's start with you, Rob. You're looking for your first bet to go to the Offensive Rookie of the Year market. So tell us a little bit about that there.
Yeah. So I'll just start off by saying, you don't need to go bet this stuff immediately, right? I mean, we still got months until the NFL season starts, but I do think that these are slightly plus EV. I'm looking to buy into upside on specific players and specific teams, but by no means are we going to see heavy market activity in the next 2 weeks where you got to race to bet this. So if you don't like the handicap, then don't worry about it. And I know a lot of people definitely will not like this one. Like you said, Jason, NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year market, taking Tyler Shuck to win at 12-1. Now, when Tyler Shuck got drafted by the Saints, I saw Twitter. They were going nuts. This guy stinks. Look at these interceptions he's thrown in college. I get it, right? A lot of people said a lot of things about Jaden Daniels coming out of college. Takes too many sacks at LSU. Guess what? He didn't take very many sacks. He was extremely mobile, had a great year. Now, I'm not saying Shuck is going to be Jaden Daniels. I'm not saying that. It's just that we're often wrong about our predictions in terms of these guys coming out of college, how it's going to translate to the pros. Now, this is a market that is usually dominated by quarterbacks, but this year we have Ashton Genty as the favorite in this market at plus 250. And that, to me, leads to some value lower down the board at quarterback positions. And I like this rookie situation for Tyler Shuck. Now, this could be a horrible year for the Saints. They might finish 2-15. And it wouldn't surprise me. I am chasing upside. I think the division is weak. So I don't know that the Saints are that far off from being competitive in the division. Everyone thinks Carolina is going to take a step up. I hope they do for our former colleague, Eric Eager, but I'm not convinced. Atlanta had a very healthy year last year. They did not suffer from very many injuries. So I'm not sure that they're as good as people think they're going to be. Tampa Bay loses Liam Cohen. He goes over to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think the division is possible for the Saints. Not saying probable, possible. He's throwing to Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, 2 speedsters. Now Brandon Cook's in the mix as a number 3. That is a very legit trio. And Kellen Moore takes over as head coach, an offensive guy, a guy who knows how to scheme offense. But most importantly, when you're betting this, there's no real threat to his playing time, in my opinion. Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener, those guys are backup material at best. The organization knows it. So I don't think we're going to see a situation where Shuck gets benched early on in the season so that Spencer Rattler or Jake Haener can get time. I think 12-1 is a decent bet in this market. Again, looking for upside, kind of ceiling type performance. But ultimately, the way that this market is priced, I don't necessarily agree with it. And Shuck is the guy who stands out at QB for me.
All right, I like that one. I'm just curious, what do you think the floor of games he would need to play for him to get Rookie of the Year? Like, we're talking about 15. So you have to play all 17. Like, what do you think the number has to be, just off the top of your head?
I think he's probably got to remain starter for the entire year. When you consider the rookie class that is involved this year, right? You got to consider the class that's there. But you have Genty, you have Cam Ward, Travis Hunter will be in the mix, McMillan in Ted in Carolina as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of guys that are potentially in the mix there. I'd say you'd have to play full season, but also think about the race last year, right? The first, 6 weeks of the year, roughly, I don't know the exact number. We were talking about Bo Nix, like he was an absolute scrub. And then by season's end, he's in the mix as well. And what ended up being a really good year for Daniel. So I just think that Shuck's college career and his arm strength translates to success in the NFL. I think he has the tools around him, and ultimately everything comes down to price. I will take a shot at 12-1.
12-1 is a good price. I do like that bet. It's funny, just the one I picked just happens to be opposite of you. And what I'm going with here is I think some people might be shocked by this. It's a lot lower of a number, and I know it's not the best to take, but I just found stuff I liked. So I'm going to go with Spencer Rattler to be the week 1 starter for the New Orleans Saints. And I think that, simply put, I think the market is just too overconfident on the fact that Shuck is for sure the week 1 starter. 75% seems a little too steep. or too certain this early in the offseason for him to be the week 1 starter. Now, a couple things about Shuck. Obviously, he was drafted in the 2nd round. So obviously the Saints are relatively high on him. They like how he plays. People I've talked to, you mentioned it, they don't think he's that good of a player. People I trust who like to watch the college football a lot, they're not very high on Shuck. They think he's bad. I trust those people. So that kind of goes into my handicap as well. Also, I'm sure people are going to say Spencer Rattler, that guy sucks. Fair. He did not have a great season last year at all in the 8 games that he played. He was pretty terrible. But to give him some credit, right? He had 1 game of Olave, 1 game and I think like 6 or 7 snaps of Rashid Shaheed. And then his number 1 wide receiver throughout the rest of the 6 games was Jawan Johnson. So like, let's pump the brakes a bit. He didn't have the best situation going into when he was starting. And then my biggest thing as to why I think Spencer Rattler could be the week 1 starter is it gives the organization an out. It gives the coaching staff an out. It gives Tyler Shuck an out, right? Mm-hmm. Tyler Shuck doesn't have to be great out the gate. He can come in and be a savior to a team that's struggling if Spencer Rattler is the starter. You can almost trot him out as the scapegoat and then bring Shuck in week 4, week 5, whenever you want, when you feel like you've had enough of Spencer Rattler. So for those reasons, I'm going to take Spencer Rattler at plus 210 to be the week 1 starter for the New Orleans Saints.
So it's interesting. The only thing I agree with you a lot of your points, right? Shuck might just have a bad training camp and he doesn't start. The only thing I disagree with is if you look at the Saints schedule this year, they start with 2 home games, which is Cardinals, 49ers back-to-back. And I think it's more likely that they would start Shuck in home games than like have someone like Rattler start a couple games and then all of a sudden, guess what? We're going to throw Shuck to the Wolves at the Seahawks, a historically tough place to play in week 3, or at the Bills in week 4. So I think the way the schedule makes up lends itself to him playing early, but it's very possible he does have a horrible training camp. He is a 2nd-round rookie that isn't polished necessarily. I just like the potential setup for him and the price because, again, we have a guy like Genty in this year's rookie class who is dragging the market heavily towards him.
Of course. And that's why I like yours as well. The price on that is phenomenal. And you can get tons of great prices over at on the NFL if you take a look at Fanduel, because it might be the offseason, but if you want to bet on the NFL and NFL futures, Fanduel is the place to go for that action. We love betting futures here on Forward Progress. We've taken a look at the entire board. We're going through award props, Super Bowl props, conference props to win the division, win totals that you can parlay on FanDuel. We love it, and there's so much more to look forward to. So just visit FanDuel.com/Forward Progress to download America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/Forward Progress. All right, we got through our first 2. We got 4 more to go. Rob, you're looking towards an AFC conference winner. So a really big price. So tell us a little bit about that one.
Yeah, I like the Jags to have a bounce back year. So I'm betting the Jags to win the AFC Championship. FanDuel's got 34-1 right now. There are some 40-1s out there. Obviously, bet the best numbers wherever you can. I make the fair price on Jags to win the AFC right now in the 27-1 range. So I'm not saying they should be a top tier AFC favorite. That's not what I'm saying. But I think that this price is slightly off. Part of the reason I like the Jags, I think Liam Cohen is going to be a massive upgrade there at head coach. And I think you can expect a smoother, more modern offense from the Jags this year than they had in years past. Trevor Lawrence is healthy. This is the best coaching setup he's had yet, in my opinion. Plus, you have young, explosive, versatile talent at wide receiver. Brian Thomas Jr., probably Travis Hunter playing receiver, De'Ami Brown as well. I like the receiving core. And ultimately, when I look at, I look at the division in particular, I think the market is too high on Houston. I watched the video where I saw Flupp talking about CJ Stroud as potentially leading the league in passing yards. That could be the case, but DeMeco Ryans, in my opinion, is a strong culture guy, but he makes a lot of minus EV in-game decisions, and he's too conservative in big spots. And ultimately, I don't think he gets the best out of that entire Houston team altogether. So I like Jacksonville. If they get some competent defense, they can take a huge leap. If they just get great offense, they'll take a big leap as well. They can absolutely catch fire. This is a team that is built for variance, in my opinion. And I think they're being underpriced in the divisional market, in the conference market as well. Some people might say Trevor Lawrence just isn't that guy, and maybe he isn't. There's a sample size of him being pretty mediocre now. But I think with a more modern offense, you look at a team like Washington, the Commanders last year, that defensively they were horrendous, but they got elite offensive play, and that led them to a conference title game against the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm not saying that's necessarily what's going to happen to the Jags this year, but I think they're underpriced in market. So give me them as a long shot to win the AFC Championship.
Yeah, I love that. Just considering the teams that are around him, the New England Patriots, the Miami Dolphins, hell, even the Pittsburgh Steelers priced all the way at 21 to 1. Yeah. I'd like to take that long shot on the Jacksonville Jaguars over those three teams any day of the week. Like you said, all they need is the potential positive regression on defense, just for their defense to get a little bit better. And again, that offense. Listen, Trevor Lawrence could be Jared Goff. We've seen Jared Goff put up numbers on with good skill position, good players around him, and they definitely have the talent around Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville to set themselves up for that good situation. I like that. 32 to 1 right now on Fanduel. All right, next one we got is, I want to like a little bit, I don't want to call this off the board, but unique, and I think I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one if I'm being completely honest. I got to try and find it on Fanduel right now, but I'll pull it up in a sec. This one may shock you, but Detroit Lions exact division finish. I'm taking them to finish 4th in their division. This season, I want to fade the Lions in futures markets. First thing is they have two new coordinators that are big question marks that we don't really know much about, right? In Ben Johnson, where they lost Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. We don't know who's coming in here. Those guys were really good coordinators. Both got promoted to head coaches. Ben Johnson, we know for sure, is one of the best offensive minds in football. So what does this offense look without Ben Johnson, right? I understand, I'm blanking on his name now, but the guy they had was in-house for a couple of years. So maybe he can, a little bit of Ben Johnson rubbed off on him. But the thing is, there's only one Ben Johnson. Is Jared Goff going to go back and revert to being a pumpkin again without Ben Johnson? On top of that, their talent last year on defense, I feel like they kind of, I feel like they got a little bit lucky. They played above their talent level. I understand they had a ton of injuries as well. That could help them out. Aiden Hutchinson, how healthy is he going to be? How will he need like a full season to get back to the real Aiden Hutchinson? And then on top of all this, they play in one of the best divisions in all football. So I don't think it's unreasonable to think that this could be an 8-win team and they still end up finishing 4th in the division. So I'm taking the Lions exact division finish 4th at plus 600.
Interesting. I agree with a lot of your points. It's John Morton that's the offensive coordinator there this year. And you have seen teams historically struggle when they lose even one coordinator. Sometimes, we saw an Eagles situation where they lost a couple coordinators in one offseason as well, and that hurt them a little bit in the short term. I think that this division is actually way more challenging to predict than people realize. I'm going to buy into the upside of Ben Johnson with my next long shot pick coming up here, but I don't hate this look. I don't. Obviously, Minnesota has some questions at quarterback now with Darnold out and them going with McCarthy, but I do like the coaching staff there. I could see them having a similar type of season, maybe not the same amount of wins, but being hyper competitive. Green Bay, also really well coached. I'm not the biggest Jordan Love fan. I think he's maybe the most overrated QB in the entire league, but we see them get results with Matt LaFleur. So in terms of this one, I guess I'll say I'm lukewarm on this one.
I just wish I could find a better price. I understand plus 600. It feels like we should be getting a better price. But again, I'm looking to try and get, I don't want to say a full fade on the Giants this offseason. I just think that them being like their most favorite finishing position, them being first, them being favored to finish first in their division, I just think that's wrong. And that's how I feel about this division. Green Bay Packers, I think they're a great team. Chicago Bears, like you said, new staff coming in. I think they could be a great team. And Vikings, the way they've handled the quarterback situation, I trust their process and evaluation. They feel like they know J.J. McCarthy's going to be the guy. They've proven to us time and time again they can figure out who's going to be the guy way better than anyone else can. So I trust them, and I'm just kind of defaulting to them. So then that leads me to, again, Detroit Lions, who feel like they've lost the most out of all these NFC North teams.
Yeah. Joey Kanish, one of our colleagues here at The Hammer, who appears on the Hit the Books YouTube channel, is a diehard Lions fan. He's going to see this, and he's going to be like, I would have gave you 60 to 1 instead of 6 to 1. What kind of bet is this? It has no chance. And listen, it's hard to get behind. Like the Lions have been really good now for a while, but they might really be really good again this year. But if the wheels were going to fall off and this momentum was going to stop, in my opinion, this would be the season because of the coordinator changes. I don't know that 6 to 1 is enough, but I can see it happening. I think it's more realistic than people realize.
Yeah, I like that. All right, let's move on to our last two picks that are, I'm going to call them somewhat correlated here. You mentioned it, something to do with the Chicago Bears and a fat tail, so let's hear it.
Yeah, so I want, like, when I'm betting long shots, I'm looking for high ceiling, high variance. That's exactly what you want when you're betting those types of prices. And FanDuel has a market of receivers to get 1,500 plus receiving yards. Only 2 players hit that number last year, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So yes, this is bold, but that's the point. High ceiling, high variance. I like Rome Odunze at 22-1. I could also make an argument for DJ Moore at 9-1 if you wanted to go half unit on each of them. Ben Johnson brings a downfield, aggressive passing mindset to Chicago. We've heard him already talking about it in the offseason. This was his bread and butter in Detroit. Create separation downfield, scheme guys open downfield. I think Odunze will really love working in this offense. Now, Jay, you know this. Plug your ears for a second here. I'm not a Caleb Williams guy. I thought he looked very overwhelmed last year, but he's still a rare talent, and he could click fast in the right system. He was a number 1 overall pick for a reason. He does have talent. He's got to get it together. But Odunze's polished. He has deep threat upside. If the Bears throw more, I mean, both these guys, Moore and Odunze, they should feast. And remember, this division has explosive offenses as well. So you're going to have 6 games where you need to score points as well, especially Detroit, especially Green Bay, maybe less so Minnesota this year, but who knows? Could be really big for them as well if McCarthy can catch on. So ultimately, I like the prices for these guys. I just want to find a way to bet on some Ben Johnson upside this year. And I'd much rather go to this market than take like the Bears to win the division or, season win total over. I want that extreme fat tail. So I'm going to go half unit each, Odunze and DJ Moore, 1,500 plus yards. Let's go for an extreme case this year.
And if you really feel psychotic, I don't know if there's ever been a team that's finished with 2 1,500-yard receivers, but it's 229-1 if you want to be really crazy with that.
I love how you always put these into the parlays to see what they pay.
The thing is, FanDuel automatically does it. It's not me, I swear. But yeah, I will have to say the only thing, first of all, I love this. I'm a big fan of Caleb Williams, and him improving this year seems like almost like a guarantee to happen, considering he's going to have first of all, he'll have film sessions with his coaches, which are probably important at the NFL level, and an actual head coach that's not like a circus. So I'm pro Chicago fat tail. But it's funny, when you sent me this, you only sent DJ Moore. You only sent me Rome Odunze and not DJ Moore, because my pick, what I was going for, was DJ Moore under 1,500 receiving yards at minus 114. Obviously, we know the story about betting receivers or betting basically season-long props for players. Their under will always have slightly more value just by the nature of injuries occurring, right? They'll miss games, make it harder for them to hit that mark. But for me, I look at this offseason for the Chicago Bears, and they brought in a lot of talent, right? They drafted 2 skill position players with their first 2 picks. I think the market is expecting DJ Moore to be the number 1 receiver. Rome Odunze's number is at around 825.5, and I just think, in my opinion, that's wrong. I think Rome Odunze is better than DJ Moore. I think just looking at Ben Johnson and how he utilizes his players, we'll probably see him utilize Rome Odunze more than DJ Moore. So for me, I'm not high on the talent of DJ Moore. I think he's a bit of a diva. If he doesn't get the ball a lot, we could see him, who knows, flare out a little bit. I just think the ball is going to be spread around a lot, and I don't think DJ Moore is going to be their number 1. So for those 2 reasons, I'm taking his under at 1,500 yards at minus 114 on FanDuel.
That's a tough one. I know where you're coming from, and obviously you have the injury component that could come into play. I just don't see enough elite catching talent in Chicago. Like, they drafted Luther Burden, who'll probably be their number 3. Olamide Zaccheaus is still there, I believe. At tight end, it's still Cole Kmet, Durham Smythe. I think Moore and Odunze are primed for huge seasons if neither of them gets hurt. So I don't love this one. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I just think that both of those guys can get vertical, and you're going to see some situations like you saw in Detroit where you're like, there's no one within 20 yards of Jameson Williams. You're like, how did this possibly happen? I think that's going to be the case this year. So I'm a little scared for you there, just because of the lack of productivity I see out of the rest of the wide receiver and tight end talent in Chicago.
That's fair. And I will say part of me betting or looking at this and betting this is simply I watched DJ Moore a lot last year. He gave up on a ton of routes last year. And who knows, maybe this year with some, again, like the coaching staff was obviously a clear disaster as we've come to realize now, but maybe with a proper coaching staff, maybe he doesn't do that anymore. I'm still banking on him doing that. So
if the viewers don't know, Jason is a huge Caleb Williams guy. He's a USC guy. And when a player gives up on some routes and it results in a Caleb Williams pick or makes him look bad, I mean, there's some personal vendetta there. I think that you're a little bit blind to DJ Moore's talent right now, Jay.
Maybe. We'll see. Again, 1,500. Give me the injury, not injury concern, the chance of injury as well. Not hoping that he gets hurt, let me be clear. But again, it's a factor, right? There's a chance that a player gets hurt. So, 1,500 yards under -114. And that wraps it up for us here today. If you enjoyed the content, do us a huge favor. Smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, do us a favor as well. Hit that subscribe button. We got tons of off-season content coming your way. And as well, go check out the comments. Comment below any long shot that you like, or tell me why my picks were bad. Tell Rob why his picks were bad, or tell us if you're tailing any of our picks below. Final thing, when you're in that comment section, take a look. There's going to be a link. We're going to be doing a Q&A a couple weeks from now, and we need your questions to have that Q&A going. So any questions you have about this NFL offseason, please drop it over there, and we'll have your questions answered for basically anything. So anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one.